When George Washington defended his country, without him, you can imagine what the world would look like. Guess what? We got the second George Washington. Congratulations!
I guess those punches Rocky took to the head were real after all. George Washington was the father of our country. Donald Trump is the father of Eric. Big difference there.
When Hollywood turns up the heat, things are bound to get interesting. This time, it was Sylvester Stallone's fiery return that left Jimmy Kimmel visibly unsettled, and audiences couldn't look away. So what exactly happened to stir up all the buzz? It started when Kimmel tried to slip in a quick joke at Stallone's expense. He mentioned the actor's outspoken views on the evolution of Hollywood, lightly poking fun at his opinions. But what Kimmel didn't expect was how fast the Italian stallion would strike back. With a calm but cutting tone, Stallone fired off. Some people think they're bigger than the industry itself. Guess lifting weights makes you immune to progress. Kimmel's joke wasn't harmless small talk. It was a deliberate swipe at Stallone, who's been vocal about his frustration with Hollywood's obsession over political correctness and trend chasing instead of real storytelling. That jab didn't go unnoticed. Fans lit up social media within minutes, calling the comment unnecessary and disrespectful. Stallone's supporters, who admire his blunt honesty and dedication to the craft, said the joke crossed a line. Critics accused Kimmel of targeting Stallone not for what he said, but for daring to question the narrative Hollywood wants to protect. What began as a simple joke quickly spiraled into a heated debate over who truly gets to speak freely in the entertainment world.
Remember the Academy Awards, I said how he's the worst host in the history of the Academy Awards, and this stupid guy goes up, and just before the Best Picture of the Year, the show is almost over, they're waiting for the Best Picture of the Year, he gets up and he says, and his wife said, please don't do it. His manager said, don't do it, I have to do it. He goes out and reads my truth, and it said basically, he is the worst host in the history. He reads the whole thing.
He's confusing me with one of his sons again. Wow, do you think he's flirting with me? What is this? When I die, I would like that to be the clip they play at the Emmys in memoriam montage. He even worked my wife in there. Should I be worried that Trump has mentioned my wife more times at his rallies this year than his own?
But the tension didn't stop there. Behind the scenes, things were even messier. As the buzz around their feud grew louder, reports began circulating that Kimmel had allegedly blocked Stallone from appearing on the show. Leaked production notes hinted at concerns that Stallone might use the spotlight to elaborate on his criticisms. And Kimmel reportedly didn't want that kind of fire on his stage. One insider claimed it wasn't about Stallone's star power. He's a legend, they said. It was about not knowing what he might say on live TV. The leaked memo set off a storm of backlash, exposing a side of Hollywood that many found deeply unsettling. To Stallone's fans, it felt like censorship, proof that even a Hollywood icon could be silenced for speaking his mind. For someone who helped shape modern cinema, being shut out like this didn't sit right. Supporters argued that Stallone had more than earned the right to voice his opinions, especially after decades of defining what movie stardom meant. Even inside Hollywood, opinions split sharply. Some defended Kimmel's decision, saying it was about keeping things peaceful and controlled. Others saw it as a troubling sign, a warning that the industry was losing its tolerance for real, unfiltered perspectives. What started as a late-night joke had now evolved into something far bigger. This wasn't just a clash between two public figures. It had turned into a full-blown debate over free speech, artistic independence, and the invisible rules that govern modern celebrity. And when Stallone finally broke his silence, it wasn't an emotional outburst. It was calculated, calm, and deliberate. In a series of interviews and podcast appearances, he addressed the issue with poise and precision. There was no shouting, no theatrics, just a quiet strength in his words, grounded in reflection and conviction.
Okay, my big muscular friend, I saw you the other night on Jimmy Kimmel, kind of making fun of me. Telling the whole world about how you tricked me into doing the worst movie ever made. Nah. Does it bother me? Nah. Is it burnt into my memory like a horrible scar? Nah. Well, maybe just a little bit. So anyway, as you know, I write, which is something you don't. Oh, did I say that? And I've decided to write a sequel called, for you, called Stop or Your Grandmother Will Beat Your Ass. And I will be directing and producing and mocking it all the way through. Anyway, you keep punching, big guy, and good luck with your film.
It was the kind of response that instantly resonated with fans. This wasn't just about defending himself, it was about standing tall in the face of public dismissal. In one interview, Stallone remarked, "Hollywood has always been about pushing limits, but now it feels like those limits are shrinking. Artistry is being replaced by whatever's trending, and if you don't follow the script, you're out." In another conversation, he took it further, calling out the growing culture of exclusion. When did we decide it's okay to silence people just because they think differently? That's not creativity, that's conformity. His words struck a powerful chord with viewers who felt the same frustration, believing that today's Hollywood values conformity over creativity. Without mentioning names, Stallone clearly alluded to the Kimmel incident. "It's funny," he said, "how people will criticize you for speaking your mind, yet avoid giving you the chance to explain yourself. That's not a conversation, that's a monologue." As the feud gained momentum, the internet turned into a battleground, and Stallone's supporters quickly took control. This wasn't just about defending a movie star, it became a movement against what many saw as Hollywood's growing hypocrisy. Fans were quick to call out the double standard. Kimmel, known for hosting divisive guests to stir attention, was now mocking someone else for expressing an opinion. The irony didn't go unnoticed. Many argued that Stallone's criticism of Hollywood's shifting priorities wasn't outrageous at all. It was a fair reflection shared by countless others too afraid to speak up. Silencing voices like his, they said, only weakens the entire creative conversation. One viral post summed it up perfectly. Jimmy Kimmel can joke about Stallone all he wants, but it's clear who's really standing up for creativity. Stallone built Hollywood classics. He deserves better than this. Soon timelines were flooded with tributes. Fans shared clips from Rocky and Rambo as reminders of Stallone's lasting impact, using his most iconic moments to highlight just how deeply he shaped film history. Meanwhile, Kimmel's defenders tried to downplay the controversy, insisting his joke was harmless and that Stallone's views were simply outdated. But that defense didn't stick. It only made the debate burn hotter.
Something was going to happen. This man was going to go through a metamorphosis and change lives, just like President Trump. And I'll just say this, and I mean it. When George Washington defended his country, he had no idea that he was going to change the world. Because without him, you can imagine what the world would look like. Guess what?
Stallone's fan base was louder, more passionate, and completely unwilling to let this one slide. The backlash only intensified. Viewers began calling for boycotts of Kimmel's show, accusing him of creating a platform that shut down real discussion in favor of safe, one-sided commentary. Behind the scenes, pressure was mounting fast. As public opinion started to shift, reports surfaced that Kimmel's team had gone into full damage control mode. According to insiders, they reached out to Stallone with an unusual proposal, an invitation to appear on the show with full creative control. He could choose every topic, skip anything controversial, and even review the final cut before it aired. But Stallone wasn't swayed. In a firm statement released through his team, he declined the offer, making it clear that he wouldn't compromise his values just to patch things up. "I don't need to stage a conversation to get my point across," he reportedly said. "If we can't have a real dialogue, then what's the point?" Fans immediately rallied behind him, calling it a bold stand for integrity. To them, turning down Kimmel's offer wasn't stubborn, it was a statement. It proved that Stallone wasn't about to play along just to protect someone else's image. He stood tall, and audiences took notice. In an era where so many stars bend to Hollywood's expectations, Stallone's refusal felt revolutionary. He wasn't interested in smoothing things over or participating in a PR stunt. His principles mattered more than optics, and the public loved him for it. The message was clear. Stallone wasn't just another celebrity playing along with the Hollywood machine. He was challenging it head on. His choice ignited something in fans who were tired of seeing authenticity traded for shallow applause and corporate control. Meanwhile, Kimmel's moves seemed to backfire spectacularly. What was meant as a peace offering came across as desperate. Critics slammed it as a last-ditch effort to ride Stallone's growing popularity without addressing the real issue. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a late-night joke anymore. It was about who really gets to shape the conversation. Kimmel's critics said the offer reeked of panic, fueling the belief that late-night TV had lost touch with the very audience it was meant to serve.
If you get close, I will break your jaw. I mean, I'm just telling you right now. I don't want to hurt you. I like you. You're tall, good looking. But you're not.
Stop. Ow.
what is it to do?
Stallone's refusal didn't just rattle Kimmel, it sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. The fallout was fierce, forcing uncomfortable questions into the spotlight. Could late-night shows still claim to support open dialogue, or had they become echo chambers filled with pre-approved opinions? Other hosts began to feel the pressure too. Fans weren't just tuning out, they were speaking up. They wanted real conversations, unfiltered exchanges, and guests who weren't afraid to be authentic, even if things got messy. The shift in public sentiment was impossible to ignore. Audiences were turning away from polished, rehearsed segments and gravitating toward platforms that felt genuine and raw. Podcasts in particular exploded in popularity, becoming the new frontier for honest discussion. Unlike traditional talk shows, they gave guests room to breathe. No rigid time blocks, no commercial breaks, just real talk. And Stallone thrived in that space. His podcast appearances during the height of the controversy were captivating, sincere, and magnetic. Listeners weren't just hearing a movie star, they were hearing a man with perspective, humility, and earned wisdom. Stallone's calm, grounded demeanor stood in striking contrast to the frantic pace of late-night television, and audiences embraced every word. Even Hollywood insiders started to take notice. They couldn't deny that Stallone's clash with Kimmel had become a turning point. The demand for authenticity and unfiltered storytelling was growing fast, and those who ignored it were being left behind. The noise eventually faded, but Stallone didn't just survive the storm, he emerged stronger than ever. At the heart of his resurgence was The Family Stallone, a reality series that offered fans a rare look into his personal world. Gone was the untouchable action hero. In his place stood a devoted father, a loving husband, and a wise mentor. The show peeled back the myth and revealed the man behind it, and audiences couldn't get enough. It was real, it was heartfelt, and it resonated deeply. The series became an instant hit, praised for its sincerity and honesty. Viewers called it a breath of fresh air in a culture suffocating under curated perfection. Stallone wasn't trying to impress anyone, he was simply being himself, and that made all the difference.
They don't even allow these today because they're so dangerous. But that's what they used when I did the film. I still have them because it's a time when people were tougher. Sorry, they were. When we force ourselves into tough situations, that's what the human creature is supposed to do. They're not supposed to have wheels on their suitcases. It's a convenience, no question, but it just makes things easier. Now with AI, you can literally put your brain in a pickle jar and have that machine do it. I cherish these moments. I cherish hard work. Even though I hate it, I know it's like strong medicine. It tastes horrible going down, but it makes you feel better.
He was simply being himself, and that's what made it work. Clips from the show quickly flooded social media as fans shared touching family moments, heartfelt advice, and the kind of genuine warmth that Hollywood rarely shows anymore. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. Hollywood needs more like him. This wasn't just a celebrity feud anymore. It had evolved into something bigger, a reckoning. While Stallone's popularity soared, Kimmel's ratings quietly began to dip. Their clash hadn't created the cracks in late-night TV. It had just made them impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, frustration reportedly grew at ABC and Disney. Kimmel's struggle to connect with a changing audience was becoming too obvious to overlook. Younger viewers were leaving in droves, choosing platforms that felt more real and human. People started comparing Kimmel to other hosts who were also slipping, but some had learned to adapt, loosening their formats and letting real conversation breathe. Kimmel, however, remained stuck in the same formula: safe jokes, predictable interviews, and polished smiles. Stallone's clash with Kimmel came to symbolize that divide. Fans pointed to stars like Matthew McConaughey and Keanu Reeves, actors who had reinvented their relationship with audiences through deep, unfiltered conversations on podcasts and YouTube. For Hollywood, the message couldn't be ignored any longer. This wasn't just about one feud, it was about a transformation. Stallone had set a new standard, and the industry was being forced to catch up. The audience had spoken, and what they wanted wasn't perfection or PR polish. They wanted truth, realness, humanity, and when Stallone spoke out, he delivered exactly that. His words weren't angry or defensive. They were measured, reflective, and powerful. In a series of interviews and podcast appearances, he addressed the situation with calm precision. There was no shouting, no theatrics, just quiet conviction. His message was simple yet profound. Hollywood has always been about pushing limits, he said, but now it feels like those limits are shrinking. Artistry is being replaced by what's trending, and if you don't follow the script, you're out. It wasn't just a defense. It was a declaration, a reminder that authenticity still matters, and that even in a world of headlines and hype, truth still has power.